Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this episode of According to Sacha Podcast. You know, we're here with you on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with phenomenal guests. Every episode, we have some amazing guests that are on this platform, and I enjoy every last one of them. And I enjoy having you here too. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all the support you have given us through from first season through the sixth season. This is sixth season, so I thank you so much. And then I want you to continue to do what you do. Continue to like, follow, and share. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching the videos on replay or the evergreen, or you're listening to any of the episodes on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, the list goes on. You see it all down at the bottom. I thank you. And thank you for all your support once again. And tonight we have a special guest. His name is Aaron Avont Johnson, and he is an international award-winning film director. And oh my gosh, his bio is just phenomenal. But we're gonna just go ahead into the conversation. You're gonna find out all about that when we come back with Aaron. But I do want to say a few things. So if you're already following me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever, definitely, if you're not, definitely follow, because I'll always have some goodies, some things that I put out there this month in May. Can you believe we're in May already? Oh my gosh, this year is going by so fast. But I do have a couple of things that I'm participating in. On the 14th of May, I have with Startup Grind in Nashville. It's a virtual event, and I'm talking about leveraging platforms, for business growth and how you can make multiple streams of income with a personal brand. And then on May 21st, I am actually with, oh my gosh, I just went blank. But I'm with a group in North Carolina. I've been sharing it, and it was with Nicole Outlaw and her project and the businesses that she is working with there in North Carolina. So I'll be there with them, and I'll just continue to put all the information out there. But if you're in the surrounding areas, if you're, in Virginia, North Carolina, so forth, and you want to attend, definitely look for the links. I'll put them out there again, and I want you to join. I didn't have time to put the flyer up for this episode, but it'll be on for the next one. And so that's all I have going on right now. But I just want to get into this conversation. So before I bring up Aaron, I have one. Do I have anything? No, I don't even have any videos to show you guys. So you know what? I'll be right back. Entrepreneurship, small business, is something that everybody would love to do, making their own money. And this is what we will be talking about on According to Sacha.
Camera connects.
Hey!
How you doing?
Good for you.
Listen, I said you caught me talking to the Instagram family right here.
Oh, see, I told you. 2 3 seconds. I said, whatever you're doing, be ready.
Yeah. You gave it to me.
Yeah, hey, look, at least you're back. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here, and you're welcome. And I'm glad you got your Instagram folks up and watching things. So that's cool. What's up, IG folks?
Hey y'all.
Yeah. So before we get into this whole big conversation, right? I want to start off with one question. Tell the world, who is Aaron Avont Johnson?
Aaron Avont Johnson. First off, Aaron Avont Johnson is a man of God, man of faith. We're gonna start there. But a little bit about my story. I'm an international award-winning filmmaker. Started my production company at the age of 9 years old. Started creating films very young, started winning at festivals very young. I was creating short films and all different types of projects and TV commercials and stuff like that. And then after that, I wanted to venture off into writing. So I wrote books. I'm a 3-time author. I wrote my first book when I was 12, second book at, believe 14. And then this last book I wrote recently. And then from that writing, that led on to me wanting to do full features, and then I did my first big movie, I guess you could say, for a 16-year-old at 16. Yeah.
Yeah.
Won at some major festivals, and yeah, Aaron Johnson is just a guy that is just trying to inspire everybody else. So that's pretty much.
That's awesome. I love how you went in with all the deep things. And so, oh yeah, I was just a guy who wants to inspire. But definitely your story is so inspirational because, you started at
Yeah.
9 years old with a production company. So what was the name of your production company at the time?
What's funny, I've only had two names for it. It was Aaron Johnson Productions, which that's how
Uh-huh.
it started, and my
Yeah.
production company is now Aaron Avont Johnson Productions. So that's the only thing that changed. And I decided to use my middle name because too many people had Aaron Johnson. Aaron Johnson was just too common. So I
Right.
gotta stand out some kind of way. I don't know too many people with my middle name. So yeah.
But that's good. That's good to stand out that way. But that's phenomenal. So, let's just stick with the beginning part a little bit. So you're 9 years old. So
Mhm.
what was it before that moment hit? Like what was your aha moment that you really wanted to do, go into film, have a production company, and just do this whole thing?
What's funny is I knew some kind of way I was going to end up in the arts. Even before I decided to become a filmmaker, I actually initially wanted to be an actor.
Mm.
I was 8 years old, and I remember finding, I believe it was the Miami Children's Theater.
Uh-huh.
And I found the theater, and I was showing it to my parents, and I'm like, guys, this is where I want to go. Da, 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 da. So finally, they was like, okay, we're gonna let you go to a class. So they
Uh-huh.
sent me and my brother to a class, and not to toot our own horns, but we killed it. I mean, we're just theater kids. We got it in us. My mom is a theater kid herself. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, so killed it. I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. Now you can't explain to a little kid that you have to pay for those classes and everything that come along with it. I
Right.
just knew that I wasn't going to the class no more, and I fell out. It was funny is at 9, that is when I discovered this other niche in the industry.
Hmm.
So my mom, she was tattling, on the computer trying to figure out something. And then that's when I was like, hey, let me see if I can take it over and do it. And I learned the video making software on her laptop. And I
Hmm.
made slideshows, and I was like, well, whatever this is what I want to get into.
Yeah.
And then that led into, everything else. That led into making the films, writing the books, and, it was just like a trickle effect. So, yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. So if anybody is watching and they, like, okay, well, I want to be able to take an idea or a concept and make something out of it and be creative as you have, like, what are some good tips that you would give people who wants to get involved in it?
Mm. I'll say just get involved in it. Everybody's different. Everybody's process, works different. I know everybody, finds their way into this industry uniquely. Everybody's story is kind of different. So I would just say if this is a love and a passion and something that you really want to do, something that you really want to get into, you will find your way into this business one way or another. But keep your head on straight while you're in the business. And something I always
Mhm.
say, do not let the business make you. You
That's
are who you are, know who you are before you enter the business. So then that way, because you got to expect the ups and downs. So when the roller coaster hit, you're not thinking that that is the end all be all, because it's not. So.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about some of those roller coasters. So how did you handle any challenges or roller coasters, being in the entertainment industry?
That's a great question. Um, wow. My faith, leaning on God. It was a lot of instances because here's the thing: when you are a young kid coming up in the business, on the side of the business that I had to come up in, it was a lot of having to prove yourself, a lot of but it's also too, you're too young, so it was like I couldn't be on certain sets because I'm looked at as a liability. So I was just like, well, I'm gonna make my own set. So, I started doing my own movies, so I would just say the ups and downs. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you a perfect example.
Mhm.
This isn't to throw any shade in the game at all, because I truly do have the most love and admiration for everybody. But for an example, I was 18 years old. I had got a deal with Wendy Williams. Um,
Mhm.
developing a television show. And I remember being at home, and this is unfortunately when everything, kind of hit the ceiling. We were sitting at home, and I just remember sitting there, and I said, we was watching the show because I still love her, watching the show. And at the end of it, she was just like, well, we're dissolving everything. Like, where everything is being split up. So in my mind, I'm like, well, what that mean for our project? Like, wait a minute now. Like, so, we calling around trying to figure out what happened, and to make a very long story short, things in it didn't unfortunately ended up working out. And just to put you in the mindset of a 18-year-old, who, uh, 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 went through, something like that could really take, you for a ride. It really can. But I would say leaning on God, my parents, oh my goodness, my parents, my family, the foundation that they have laid down, as far as love and support and care, very, very strong and it's unmatched. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that you have, that support from family, but then also your faith in God is really big and major because that helps to keep you grounded for real and everything. And especially, when you're young and you have had like the opportunities that you've experienced so far, like, being honored for with the work that you do by Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte and these greats that's out here, Ava Duvernay, like you've been in that space, and so being able to stay grounded as a young person in that space and not like go off the limb. We see so much happen in entertainment industry. There's the pros and the cons out there, there's the good and the bad, but from when people can actually stay true to who they are within the industry, that says a lot about the character and about the values and everything that person have, and they're like, I'm not gonna succumb to anything that's
Right.
crazy.
Yeah,
So
right.
let's talk about some of the main project that you had. I have your bio up here because, like I said, I was not going to miss anything about this. And so, your movie Lost.
Yes.
Yes, let's talk about that. Like, how of an impact did that have on you personally, as well as within the community and abroad?
Great question. So Lost was originally a short film. So Lost was my very first short film I decided to do as a filmmaker, and really kind of putting myself out there. I took my little Canon camera. I had two actors. It was my dad and another actor named Charles Williams, who actually starred in the full feature version of this movie. But yeah, we just went to the park one afternoon, just decided to shoot some stuff, did some voiceovers. I was like, let's put it together, let's make a little film. And we did that, and the film ended up winning at a festival in Miami, the Widescreen Film and Music Video Festival. It was at AMC Theater. They showcased the short, and then the short ended up winning. So I was just like, oh, well, maybe we actually did something. Like maybe, we can kind of do something with this. So from then on, I decided to do the full version of Lost. So Lost, just to let you guys know what the story is, Lost is a coming of age story about a young boy named Job who lost everything and basically had to discover life on his own. So he lost his family, and he lost basically his way. He became homeless, and homelessness is a really big topic in the movie. So at 16, I said, well, I'm gonna do a full movie. Let's do a full feature. I really want to tell this story because I really see this going from young child, teenage to adult, and we really see the transitions of childhood and different versions of loss in different areas of his life, which is very interesting. So we did that, and I remember as 16-year-old, I was just like, we're gonna pull a crew together, and I pulled an amazing DP by the name of Marcelo. He was very young at the time himself, but Marcelo has gone on now to do Netflix movies and shows and everything else. But we pulled a whole crew together. And fun fact, I always tell everybody about that set. Everybody on that set was under the age of 21, crew-wise. I was only 16. My DP was maybe 19, 20, and he was probably the oldest one. Everybody else were like teens, and we was like making it happen, teens and young adults, and we made the film happen. The movie ended up, we had a big debut movie premiere in Miami. It was like 600 or 700 people came out to the premiere. It was very big. The news covered it, and it became a really, really big thing. And then we went over to London. The film had got accepted into a big festival over in London. So we went over to London and we won 2 awards for that film. I won Best New Filmmaker, and one of my actresses, an amazing actress. And I always got to give her flowers, Emmy nominated actress.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. I always hype her up whenever I say that, because when she got nominated for the Emmy, I was like, okay now. So Emmy nominated actress, Latoya Ward. She won Best Actress, I believe in a feature film or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the story of Lost. Lost was streaming. It was in Walmart, and it was available on Tubi. But now we are doing some new things with Lost. So y'all are going to see Lost on some very, very brand new platforms very soon.
Okay. So repurposing the movie and everything, and
Yeah.
okay, I hear you. So I'm gonna just kind of double back a little bit, because before we came on, I told you, I had a little something, entertainment. So I'm a business strategist. So a lot of times they don't really hear some of the other things I've been fortunate to work with and have my background in. I love to call myself a creative analyst, or the analytical creative, right?
Okay.
And so the Canon camera. Now let's touch on that, because a lot of times people might think, oh, I gotta have the fancy equipment, I gotta have this to want to just shoot something. I mean, you have your iPhones now, they got the iMovie app and everything, but the Canon camera was something that you can go with the EOS version or higher, and you can actually do your videos, and it comes out in high quality. And so for you to say, oh yeah, you just sit the Canon camera out to the park. Yeah. I had so with me, I was in the music part of the industry more so, and I used to manage independent music artists. So I've, familiar with writing storyboards and, for videos, and being on, calling it sets, like finding somewhere to do it. And we had those Canon cameras, and actually doing the footage for that. And so I just wanted to kind of like highlight on that, because you don't need to have anything fancy just to get started. A lot of times it's just, this is such on that. So what would be like your tips for people who want to get started in the equipment wise, just something that's so economical, or a little bit of nothing if you already have it at hand?
Yeah, we already have it. It's called our cell phones. We can use our cell phones. I'm not old by any means, but around the time when I was getting into it, you had the big professional cameras. Like, this was when I started at 9, so we had got this big Sony camera. I would sit on my shoulder, and you would have to rig it up, and we had to get the lights and then the mic, and I would carry that thing everywhere. And it was this big old camera. Listen, now they got better quality than that in our pocket. So just get started with it. Just pull out your phone, make a video. Even now, stuff on TikTok, like, even if it's just TikTok content, whatever it is, just pull out your phone.
Yeah, that's good. And then, they're thinking about, okay, I have the idea. So what are the steps to taking the idea and put it into, a whole, like a script or so forth, and doing that? So what are some tips to give for that too?
So if you have an idea for a project, it's a few things to consider. One thing to remember is, when making a film, it's not a solo show. It's making a film is a collaborative process, because it takes a village to make a film. It takes a village. So I would say, first thing is, if you don't have a script writer, or your film isn't already written, first thing is, I would say self-education. Teach yourself how to write a script. Some of the best ways to do it is to sit and just analyze some of your favorite movies. Just to sit there, watch them, listen to the dialogue, listen to how they're trading off dialogue. One of the a great tip I got from somebody that I was reviewing my work. He told me, he said, something I believe would be beneficial is if you sit down and really listen to people's conversations. And at the time, me being a writer, still, like, I'm still perfecting the craft. So at the time, I was like, oh my God, like, you trying to say my writing is horrible? Like, my dialogue is just so bad. Oh my God. So but I took the advice. I really did. I started listening to people's conversations. I really started studying. Um,
Hmm.
because it's a language how people talk, you know. So I would say study, self-education, also put a good team together, put a team of people that know what they're doing, because that will save you a lot of money and headache, because it's already going to be stressful to put your first project together. I'm just going to be honest, because it's going to be some things that may not go as smooth. So
Hmm.
you want to make sure that you have the right team in place that can carry out their vision. And then last thing is just see it to the end, see it to the end, you know, get that post production done, edit it, put it together, have a plan for what you're going to do with the project, and yeah, everything
Wow.
else is what you grasp.
Those are amazing points. Really good. Because I know people, because even myself, I have things I think about. I'm just like, I want to, maybe this could be a movie, maybe this could be a short film or something like that. And, understanding the process, 'cause we see, but we never, sometimes people don't really have at hand people who are experienced in it, who can actually say, sit down and have a conversation with them. So, given those points and being able to say, look, this is how you can do it. But, it really does help a lot when they want to at least take that idea further. And so
Mhm.
that was really good. So thank you for sharing that. So let's talk about this Aaron Avont Johnson Day that you had.
So that was something that was so crazy. So, right after the Lost film premiere, no, I take that back. This was during the premiere. We was leading
Mhm.
up for the premiere. We just came back from London. We was on a press tour, and I was on a press run with Jasmine Burke. She's an actress from Saints and Sinners,
Mhm.
and yeah, she was hosting the event, and was going around doing press. Nobody told me anything. It's very hard to make me speechless because I can talk, as you can see. So yeah, we got into the mayor's office. It was like, well, we're heading to the mayor's office. Like, why are we going to the mayor's office? It was like, oh, we're just gonna take some pictures. And well, okay, so we go there. The mayor, you know, he's like, I want to see the movie trailer, because they knew the premiere was
Mhm.
like the next day.
Right.
So he goes, I want to see the trailer. I want to see it. So I pulled up the trailer, and he's there watching it with all of his staff, and everybody's watching it. Then we go into his office, and then I'm just standing there. I'm like, okay, something going on. I don't know what's going on, but somebody ain't telling me something. So I'm
Uh-huh.
standing there, and then yeah, that's when they presented me with Aaron Avont Johnson. My own day, that same day, it was Aaron Avont Johnson Day. They presented me with the proclamation from the state. Yeah, and I was speechless. I really didn't have nothing to say. I was caught off guard. Um, so, you know, something I like to do on Aaron Von Johnson Day, you know, we try to do, you know, something good, something fun for Aaron
Mhm.
Von Johnson Day. One of the things that we did, I believe it was probably last year, if I'm not mistaken,
Uh-huh.
was we did it was like a virtual workshop with some of the kids. And yeah, I try to do something on that day special, you know, to kind of
Mhm.
give back. And there's going to be greater things that we do on that day in the future. But yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So you're looking to do like any type of workshops for people, not just the young people, the youth, but anyone who wants to get into whether it's acting or directing
Oh
or.
yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, one of the workshops that I did not that long ago, I believe it was a couple of months ago, I did it with a good friend of mine. She's one of the writers on the Miss Pat show that is
Mhm.
streaming on BET. And she writes on some other shows on the All Black Network. So we did a workshop together where I basically was teaching on production and she was teaching on writing. And
Mhm.
we're bringing that workshop back. So this is actually an exclusive for you. We're
Oh,
bringing our workshop back. Yeah, so that workshop is actually we're putting a pinning on the date, but
okay.
it's going to be coming up very very soon. So yeah, I do workshops a little bit of
Mhm.
everybody. Just depending on the types, you know, the
Yeah.
type of workshop that we're doing. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah, I love conversations like this. I'm sitting here like, I know we're supposed to do 30 minutes, but I'm not like really focused on time because this is like really like I said before, people don't really know that side of me a lot of because it's always business. But I love being creative. I love just tampering into that world as much as possible. And like one of the things that I was going to do with my business before COVID, before the pandemic, was because I do events, and the part of it was to get into film providing services, like unit management and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I was just like, yo, okay, let me just expand this whole thing and all that. So that's why I'm just like all smiles and giggles over here and just enjoying this conversation because I'm like, oh yeah, I remember these days. So what about your Predestined project?
Yeah, so Predestined was so fun to do. We did Predestined smack dab in the middle of COVID. It was 2020. Matter of fact, it was just a few months after we went down. We went on lockdown. But we was already planning to do a film that year, so we was just like, well, we're going to do a film. So we did Predestined, and Predestined was so fun. Predestined is an urban musical about a preacher's daughter whose mother passes and
Mhm.
leaves of the church. So yeah, it's a lot of drama. I love to say it's the mix of both worlds. It's gospel, but then it's not gospel at the same time. I like to say it's a mesh between like a Dream Girls and
Mhm.
Fighting Temptations almost. So it's kind of like a mesh between there with a little gospel.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was so fun to do because I did that project with my entire family. Both of my parents were executive producers on it. My mom not only was in the movie,
Uh-huh.
she performed in the movie. And actually, the movie Predestined is named after her group. She had a group back in the '90s called
Mhm.
Predestined, which was a
Okay.
gospel. Um,
Okay.
they used to perform back in the '90s. So I was like, hey guys, I know it's been almost 30 years, but we're gonna bring you guys out of retirement for this movie. And they
Yeah.
recorded for the soundtrack. Actually,
Mhm.
they did all of the backgrounds on the soundtrack. I believe we had like a 16 or 17 track soundtrack for it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and they did the original music, which is so fun. My brothers were in it. My oldest brother, Dontrell, he wrote and arranged all of the music. So
Mhm.
he wrote all of the songs from top to bottom, outside of the ones my mom wrote. But yeah, it was just a great experience. Yeah, and Predestined is currently was on Tubi, but currently we're shifting. So we're shifting Predestined. So Predestined will be headed to a new platform very soon, again for everybody to see. So
Okay, okay. I like that how you're going to take that to bigger, better platforms. I'm quite sure, and so that's wonderful. And thank you for that exclusive earlier too. So
of
see that's
course.
what happens, guys. When you watch the According to Sasha podcast, you never know what's going to come out. So we just had that exclusive earlier as well. So yeah, just always be surprised for something. So you have so many things, and I know we talked about the film part. So how exciting was it for you to even just be an author and write some of the books that you've written?
That's a great question. My first book, I honestly didn't see myself being an author. My mom, she gave me the idea. She was like, "Hey, you're a young person, going after your dreams, doing this and that and that. Why don't you write a book?" So I was like, "Okay." I was like, all right. So, I remember what's funny is I remember the story of how we came up with the name for my first book. The book is called You Are Never Too Young. If you
Mhm.
abbreviate it, it's called Yanti, which I do something with that word, with that name.
Okay.
But I remember we was tossing around ideas and was talking about what the book was going to be. And I remember me, my mom, and my dad was in the living room,
Mhm.
and I believe my dad was like standing at the kitchen counter or something. And we was just like, yeah, we don't know what to name this book. And I was just like, because I just wanted to say that the kids are just like, they are never too young to go after something. And my mom was just like, right, right, right. So then she was throwing out a name. So my dad was just like, why don't you call it that? You are never too young. And I was just like, I can call it that. You are never too young. I'm like, you're right. So, after that, I got bit by the book bug, and then I wrote another one at 14 called Winning Mind Battles, which that tackled mental health
Mhm.
and youth.
Mhm.
I believe that is now being more talked about, thank God. But at the time, it really wasn't.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then my latest book is called A New You Is Knocking, and that book was recently released last year. Um,
Mhm.
and that book is a weight loss book because I struggled with my weight since I was a very, very young kid. I had got up to be 315 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, and I ended up losing over 118 pounds, all natural. So,
Yeah.
I wrote a book, basically a how-to book. And basically the book breaks down your relationship with food, how we see food, and basically managing, your body. Because I believe health is wealth. If you don't have your health, the wealth
Mhm.
ain't make sense because you ain't
Yes,
gonna be around to do nothing with it. So,
exactly.
yeah. So that was that book, and that was the latest one. So.
Wow, wow. So you're just like a walking IP in a sense. It's just like you have all of these, phenomenal, whether it's your writings and books and or taking that and just, writing for film and so forth and the awards you've won. Have you ever been at the Bronze Lens as well? Did you participate in that?
I haven't. I haven't. I am planning to go next year. I am planning to go next year. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Make sure because especially for, our people of color, that's just that one festival, movie festival, and so forth. And I think they have other things associated with Bronze
Mhm.
Lens, but it's definitely something to be a part of. I know I have a cousin. Well, I mentioned one cousin. I have another cousin who is in short films and movies and um, video and everything. And I think she won or was nominated for an award in Bronze Lens about maybe 3 years, 4 years ago. So
Awesome.
yeah, and her husband, can't think of the movie project. They just recently have a movie that was put on Tubi just like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So
Awesome.
yeah, so it's like it's in the blood. It's in the
Yeah,
blood.
yeah.
It's just in the genes. So yeah. So tell me a little bit about Lights Camera Connection.
Yes. So I am so excited about this. Coming up in a few days, actually,
Oh,
May 19th, we are putting on our second annual Lights Camera Connection Gala. We held the first event in January, where
mhm.
we honored Chrissy Collins, the amazing Chrissy Collins from the group The Mamas. If you guys are not aware who she is, trust and believe me, you have heard her voice. She was Beyonce's background singer for close to 20 years. The
Mhm.
group toured with her for, I think, 7 world tours or something. In basically all of the Tyler Perry movies, background singing and in front of the camera. So we honored her. We honored Mr. Javon Johnson. He plays the butler in The Oval. If you watch the show The Oval, he also played in The Quad, and he was on Broadway and several other, great things that he has done. So we honored him, and
Mhm.
yeah, and we honored Commissioner Gene Andrews, a great commissioner up here. Yeah, he's amazing. So we honored him, and that was in January. So now we have hit the second one where we're honoring a great host of people. Um, the ones getting the the ones getting the fan favorite award is Angel Love,
Mhm.
Shaquita Smith, Tracy Love Graves. All of them are amazing actresses that starred in various projects on television,
Mhm.
and great things that they have done. Daryl Chambers. We have some filmmakers that are getting some awards. Shout out to all of the filmmakers, Bobby Huntley and Dorian Forbes. Um, and we have two lifetime achievement honorees.
Mhm.
One being Demetria McKinney, who is most notable for her role in Janine and House of Pain, and
Yeah.
several other great things that she has done. And then nationally syndicated radio host Rick Party, who's also the voice of ESPN. He's been the voice of BET, ABC, Fox, and all of these great things. So I'm so excited to put this event on because it is shining a light on people that not necessarily, get a light shined on them all the time.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, we think that, the Emmy and the Oscar stage is that's the goal, that's the end all be all. But a
Mhm.
lot of times you have to look back and recognize the people that is making a way in this industry that have done great things already without that Emmy, Oscar, or Tony.
Wow.
So we're putting on this event, and it's going to be a great time. We have a lot of great people coming out. Force MDs, they're
Okay.
coming out. We have a lot of different actors. We got some Olympic athletes
Ooh.
that's coming out. A lot of different press and media news outlets are coming out. So it's going to be a grand time. So
Wow.
if you are in Atlanta, I invite you out. Please, it's a free event open to the public. Come in your best suit and tie. Come in your best gown. Listen, you need to be shimmering and glittering all over the place. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So it's happening at the Douglasville Conference Center, May 19th at 5 p.m. You want to make sure you get there on time because you want to make sure you get there for the hors d'oeuvres. Now, if you get in there, you got a little appetite. Come
Better get
early,
the
come
appetizer.
early, so you can partaketh in the foods.
Right, right, right. So you partake
You
and
got
network.
you got to hold on to the spirit, huh? So
Definitely. So you don't want to miss out on that part because
right,
this
so
is
come
there's a
early, 5 o'clock.
yeah, probably because when you come and you never know who you may meet. While
Absolutely.
you're picking out your hors d'oeuvres and who else you can meet and connect with as well. And
Can't
and I
take away
and I
from
love that part
yeah,
with the connection piece of it.
absolutely.
So yeah, that's good. So oh my gosh, so yeah, we're gonna hit our cap tonight. So anyway, but would you say that it matters where you're located as far as like how easy it is for you to do film in an area? And because I know in some states they have the legislation that is released for people to really do big film. And in some states, the legislation kind of keeps it locked. So would you say that that does make a big difference in someone's project?
I say yes and no because it depends on the person and the particular journey that they're on. So, for an example, let's just say if you're an actor, right?
Mhm.
And you have it in your means to travel out and to do the auditions, to go out to LA, to go out to Atlanta, to go here, go there. You have it in your means to do so. You can do that without relocating, then no. I wouldn't say it matters. However, if you are a person on, let's say, more of the production end of the spectrum, and let's just say your area, you don't get as much film jobs through there. You don't get as much production jobs. It's maybe
Mhm.
slow in your area. If you were DP and you're trying to DP work, and if there's no work there to DP, then it's just like yeah, So a lot of times, you have a lot of people that work in various fields that
Mhm.
move to different locations where there are more frequent opportunities for them to get compensated for their craft and for their art.
Mhm.
So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because the reason why I asked that because like here I'm in Virginia, Hampton Roads area, Virginia, and we have a big pool of creative geniuses here, film directors, producers, everything, everywhere. And in fact, Michael Copine was here as well. He was, from Chesapeake.
Mm,
And so that was one of the reasons why he got out of the area because it's just the legislation here doesn't really allow people to do big film. Like you could do film, but we can't do big film. And
mhm,
so, and even there's so many people that's I could just say their names, but and that's the reason why I asked that question because it ended up being a limitation. So a lot of the people who are here locally, who are major film producers, they're the ones traveling outside the area, working in Chicago on big
mhm.
projects or LA and so forth. And and it's just like we can really have that creative pool here as well if everyone really invest in it, including our local government. And we have Pharrell is from this area as well, and I think he's
Mhm.
actually about to start doing a movie here about his life in a sense. I think it's going to be a musical, but I really believe that he positions himself with the government. So I think with him doing that may actually open up those bigger opportunities and for people to start changing things. So, so I was just like, yeah, I know that it impacts us here. So I was
Mhm.
wondering how it impacts other people, other states or localities in that area. So that's why I was like, let me ask that question, throw it out there. Because if people are really wanting to do that, I mean, you have your collectives, your film collectives, you have your associations that
Mhm.
you can get involved with, and there's grant money out there for films and so forth, and it's a lot of opportunities, but you have to get yourself out there. So because I brought that up, let's talk about what grant opportunities have you come across, or funding, how easy or how hard it's been, and what ideas and things that you could give out there for the people who are watching.
Yeah, so when it comes down to getting your projects funded, something I always like to say is that it's not a narrow street. it's
Mhm.
like it's very zigzaggy in a sense, because honestly it can be funded in several different ways,
Mhm.
from whether that's private equity, whether that's an investor just believing in your project. That can be money from friends, family, that could be money that you save up, or that could be going out and seeking investment with grants and banks, even with loans from banks and other places. So it's not a one-way thing. Now, however, the average independent filmmaker would tell you it is very hard.
Mhm.
It is very, very hard to get funding because it's a lot of different factors that play in. And not saying that you can't get funded,
Mhm.
because I've been funded, but it's like it's a strain, because it's almost like you got to get somebody that's going to believe in your vision, that's going to trust, that hey, you're going to do right by this investment, and then film industry is a very topsy turvy, type
Mhm.
of industry in itself. So that's why I always say it is good to have people that know what they're doing and that have been a bit further than you are, so that
Mhm.
way they can be there to help avoid some mistakes that you may not have known because you haven't been down that road before.
Yeah.
So it's innocence in not knowing. If you really don't know, you really don't know. Yeah, that's what I would like to say. So hopefully I answered your question.
Oh yeah, that's really good. That's really good. I'm just coming up with all kinds of questions for people that could be watching it because and you guys drop your questions if you're watching and you have questions, drop them in because this is the time to ask before we end the show tonight. Make sure you get it in there. How fun was it like casting people for your movies?
It's fun. It's fun. I would say what's very fun about it is getting to see the diversity of talent.
Yeah,
That's a little bit of everywhere, because we live in a very talented generation, But honestly, it's just always been there. Talent has always been there. So casting process is definitely fun. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. I had opportunity to do a video project, a training video project. And so had to write a storyboard, had to find the actors. I thought that was really fun. That's why I was like, let me ask him, how fun is it? You see people and it's like, oh, you have an idea of the type of person you want for that role. And then you actually go through the auditions and seeing everything. And it's just like, oh, wow, okay. And the person that the type I wanted, I, you know, I went with the best actor
Hmm.
who ended up rocking the whole thing. And I was just like, oh, wow, his name's Joshua Shipman. And he's been featured on some movies on Apple and some other things. Like, I didn't even know who, sometimes you don't know who you're selecting until you select them. And then you see the talent and then you see everything else that stems from their, creative sources and everything. And it was just like, oh, wow. So being early morning on the sets, set that I claim, it was a set and being early mornings and everything. It was fun. It was tiring, but it was fun. But to
Yeah.
see the final project come together is everything. So when you see your final project, how does it make you feel?
I don't watch them.
No?
I don't watch them. My parents can tell you I don't watch. Now I will say, however, I will say I'm going to watch this one, this
Okay.
next that we're working on. And the reason why I say I don't watch them, it's not because they're bad, horrible. It's not that. It's just because of me. I'm just a perfectionist within myself. And then
Mhm.
another thing, when you spend so many hours putting it together, so many
Uh-huh.
days and weeks and months, it's just like that was on repeat for so long. It's almost like, I don't want to see it for a minute. It's almost like hearing a song on repeat
Uh-huh.
constantly over and over and over, and it kind of just wears out. You're just like, um, but all in all, I get very excited when it's completed, because I'm excited to see the magic. I do believe it's something special,
Mhm.
with creatives, and I believe that creatives are touched by God. Because we got to look at, and not to turn this into a big spiritual moment, but we got to look at who God is. Everything that we see now came from His imagination, and that is the same gift that He has given creatives, is to make something out of nothing. If you can
Yeah.
see something in your head and make it, and make something, that is a special skill and a gift that not everybody have, whether that's a
Mhm.
song, whether that's a painting, a portrait, a film, a book, whatever it is, because that's a materialized, thing that was not there. It was not created beforehand. So yeah. Hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, you did, and I love that you brought that up because because that is true. Is that creative power that you do have, and being able to make things appear. Take that idea and put it out there and make it amazing. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have your movies, we wouldn't have the TV shows, we wouldn't have the books or anything that has shaped our not only just our society, but communities, but our lives, depending on the impact of it and so forth. And, it's an amazing thing when you could tap into that. And like you
Absolutely.
said, that special gift. So I got special gift then, huh?
Yeah, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Listen, own it. Wear it with pride.
Yes, I definitely. And I know we could go on and on and on with this conversation. I'm gonna have to invite you back, and so we could talk about the new thing. So anything. So I know you have the new project, but anything else? Is that what you're doing with Predestined, or is there something different?
No, so we're working on a few new things at the moment. So outside of the LCC event, once again, it's May 19th at 5 o'clock at the Douglasville Conference Center. If you are in Atlanta, Georgia, if you are in Georgia, listen, that is the place to be. I'll tell you, that's the place to be. It's going to be a grand time. So outside of that, we just did a short a few months ago that we are actually doing some events around because it is tackling a very real issue with women who have complications with pregnancy, more specifically preeclampsia and other issues that women have with giving birth. But it's a dark twist on it. It's a very dark twist on it. So we will actually be hosting some events centered around that, and we got some other plans, to turn that into a bigger feature, into something bigger. Outside of that, we are diving into another feature. We have another full movie that we are actually working on now. So the script is fresh off the press, and yeah, I'm partnering with some amazing people. One my producer on the project is Jamie McCoy Langford from Hillionaire Productions, who is just amazing. Has movies a little bit of everywhere, Lifetime, BET, stars, you name it. So we're doing this project together, and it's going to be so fun. Yeah, and it's a horror film. So
Oh,
I'm a real horror fan.
okay.
I'm the type I can watch a horror movie at 3 a.m. with all of the lights off in the house by myself. Nobody needed. Like I'm that type because I enjoyed the art of what horror movie is. That's me and my older brother. We just kind of grew up like that. So
Okay.
yeah. So this is gonna be some real. It's gonna be some real horror. It ain't gonna be. It ain't gonna be what you used.
So Jordan Peele move out the way, huh?
Well, listen, I believe everybody got their own lane. So, hey, he run his race, I'm running mine.
That's right. That's right. All right. That's amazing. So everyone, thank you for watching and being here. I want you to make sure that you follow Aaron. He is on all platforms, and it is his name, Aaron Avont Johnson. And the website is here as well. And then there are links in the chat as well. I think Ty put in some links to your movies and trailers and stuff. Yeah, the trailers, YouTube's. And so y'all can check that out as well. And this has been an amazing conversation. I have really enjoyed it. Definitely. Thank you so much, Aaron, for being
Likewise.
here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. Any final words of wisdom before we go?
Yes. Always keep God first. Trust yourself. Trust what God put in you.
Mhm.
Never feel as if your time is out or that you have run out, because as long as you got breath, there is still more to you. And then something to don't stop creating. A lot of times we can just let life happen to where we forget that initial gift that God put in us was to create, was to step out of our box and do things. And a lot of times we have to remind ourselves of what it is that God put in us, because that is what's going to give us strength. That's why, for an example, that's why they say if you're going to get a job that you love, because when you work, it's not going to feel like work. It's that when you do something that you love, it don't feel like it's work. It feels like something that you're supposed to do. So lean into that. and really thrust yourself into that. I mean, the way I look at it like this. And I've heard this off of a podcast. I wish I can recall exactly who said it so I can give proper credit. But the gentleman basically said, if you look at it in 150 years, nobody in your bloodline may not know your name. He says, for an example, he said, if you look at you may know your grandparents, you may know your great grandparents, but do you know their great grandparents? Do you know their great 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 grandparents? So, thing is that while you have the time now, just do it anyway.
Yeah.
Do it. What are you waiting on? Just do it. In 150 years, it's not gonna matter. All your name is going to be washed out in history.
Yeah.
Do it. Don't have no fear. Don't allow nothing to hold you back. Go for it. Because the thing is, now is the time. Like I said, it's not finna matter. Nobody's going to be talking about this. If you say, oh, I may look silly, I may look stupid trying to do it, I may look, who cares? Who cares? Do it. Because at the end of the day, it's a difference between doers and people that just sit down. The people that sit down don't get nowhere. But the people that get up and do it, yeah, they may fall, they may trip, and it may take them a while to get there. But the thing is that they're going to get there because they are the ones on their feet moving. So that is what I will say to everybody.
Wow, that is powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. So everybody, just do it. Do it, whatever it is you heard Aaron said.
Just do it.
Yeah. Just do it. Just do it. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you again, Aaron. We'll be back with another episode on next Thursday with another phenomenal guest. And just remember to be great in everything you do and command your day. And I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.